Today I'm going to talk to you about my favorite homeschool supplies and resources, things that I would buy all over again if I was starting from the beginning, things I don't regret purchasing and that I'm going to recommend to you. So hey, my name's Adrian and I'm a homeschool mom of 3, and these are my favorite things that I purchased for our homeschool so far. We're on our 3rd year of homeschooling, and these are the things that I find that I keep coming back to, that get used over and over again, and if I was starting from the beginning would have saved me a lot of money. So I love to use free resources. I love to find good deals and thrift all of my things. And in the beginning, I was so lost. I didn't know my style of teaching, my kids' style of learning. I didn't know what I needed, what I didn't, what was extra, and what was essential. So as I have learned the last few years, these are my top picks. So in no particular order, I'm going to start with a primary composition book. This is wonderful. You can do so many things with a primary composition book. If you have older kids, it can just be a regular composition book. But for my younger kids, I do like the books that have the writing space at the top and the lines at the bottom. And these are really cheap. They come out when school supplies start coming out. They're $1, maybe $2, depending on inflation prices this year. You can also order them off of places like Rainbow Resources, which is, I believe, where I got this one. I have used this in many ways. For our phonics curriculum, I like to have them do copy work out of it. So I can write either up here or down on the bottom and have them copy the sentence or the letters. When we were learning letters, I could do my own worksheets essentially. If I saw that they needed to be working on something, I could just make up my own worksheet. So my child needed to work on tracing his name and writing his numbers and his letters. So I would just write in a highlighter or some kind of marker, and you can have him trace over it and then copy it. So I essentially just picked things that we really needed to work on and created my own curriculum or worksheets, what have you. I also would have my child, when we were learning to write the date, I would have him copy the date and the day of the week, his name, some letters. I would have him draw how he felt that day and what the weather was like. And so we would just practice that for a while. And then again, we moved more into phonics and reading, practicing handwriting, making it neat instead of just copying. And this has served me in so many different ways. So as he learned, it got better and I got to pick the different ways he needed to work on them. My 2nd grader this year is using it for copy work out of phonics or out of different books that we're reading, different poems, and it's very versatile. You can have one composition for all of your subjects or copy work. So this is money well spent, $1, maybe $2, and it is very versatile. Next, I want to recommend some kind of tray. So I have 2 different kinds here. I have this one, which I believe is some kind of just like a letter tray, things for you to turn in paperwork. These also come out when school supplies come out for the year. And I have one of these size trays for each of my children. And then I also have this kind of tray. I believe this came with like a Melissa and Doug toy or a knockoff Melissa and Doug toy. It had magnet dolls and the different pieces, but these trays are amazing. We love to use them for messy artwork. So if my daughter is wanting to paint, I can put it in here and then she won't get paint everywhere. If she is wanting to string beads, I can have her do it in here so the beads don't roll away. These trays are also great for sensory bins. I have made several sensory kits out of kinetic sand, rice, beans, rocks, anything that you want to do sensory play. These are great, and my kids get to pick out whatever sensory kit they want and play with it. You can use these for different unit studies, and you can make themed sensory bins. You can do it for messy play. You can just have it for loose parts play so things aren't rolling all over the place. These have come in handy, and they are one of our favorite school supplies. Okay, my next suggestion would be a laminator. Now, laminators are pretty inexpensive. I want to say I got mine for $30, and I have gotten my money's worth out of it. This just helps me use lots of free resources and printables and things that I want to reuse over and over again. So I have some examples for you. All right, so here's an example. This is a hundreds chart and we use it over and over again. And I could have just printed this out and not laminated it, but my kids would have ripped it to shreds on the first day. I do have boys, they are young, and everything gets destroyed. So by laminating it, we can use this every single day and it does not get destroyed. We can write on this. We love to skip count, and I'll have them circle every second number or every fourth number, whatever we're learning for skip counting. We will also practice what number comes next, what's one more, what's one less, what's 10 more, what's 10 less. So I'll have them circle the number of the day, say it's the 24th of the month, and we would circle 24, and my child or my children could tell me one more, one less, 10 more, 10 less. And so we could use a dry erase marker on this, and it can be used over and over again because it's laminated. Another example of how we use things that are laminated is I made these free chore charts on Canva, and so they have their daily chores and their weekly chores, and since it's laminated, they can check them off like my child did this morning, and we can erase it and use it over and over again, and again, it doesn't get shredded to bits. A few more examples are I have my second grader learning the abbreviations of the states, and so he is just picking a few each week to work on, and he can look at it and write on it and reuse it over and over again every day. And so instead of having to print a new sheet out every day, he can do it on this laminated sheet, and then when he's done, my first grader that will be a second grader can do that next year. And then here are a few examples for like a unit study or even just for your preschooler. I got these, I either got this in a bundle or for free, I'm not sure. But this was just in some Play-Doh mats for an Arctic animals unit that we did. And so it says, give the seal some water to swim in. So you can put Play-Doh on this, you can use dry erase markers on this, and you can use it over and over again. So if we ever come back and do this unit, then we will have them and they're durable instead of just trying to create that unit study and use paper or something you have to go out and purchase. I just printed and laminated these, and I get to keep this in my file cabinet. So a laminator has saved me lots of money. I haven't had to go out and purchase hundreds charts or other things. And you'll see in the next few things that I can use my laminator in other ways too. The next thing I'm going to show you are dollar store counters. So this is just my little bin of dollar store counters. These are just little beads or whatever they're called from Dollar Tree. I guess $1.25 now. But I use these for math manipulatives. I will tell you, I have purchased math manipulatives. We have bought the MathLink cubes, we have bought the base 10 items, and we hardly ever use them. My kids will play with the MathLink cubes, but they don't like to use them for math. And we have come back to these over and over again. You can use them for counting, you can use them for skip counting, you can use them to show groups, you can use them on your hundreds chart, and you can do skip counting and put one of these counters on every second number, or whatever it is. My daughter likes to create letters with these, so she'll use her Gentle and Classical Morning binder and she will make the letter O out of these counters. They are so very versatile, and if I had to go back, I would not have bought any other math manipulatives unless something came up that we just absolutely needed to. We use these for everything. Everything. You can use them as game markers even, whatever you need them for, and they're $1. So I highly recommend this. And this was one of my downfalls when I was figuring out what I needed. I did find my math manipulatives used. I did find them at a yard sale from a teacher, and it was a steal of a deal, but I still wasted that money because I turned around and got rid of it the next year because we didn't use it and we used these. So these are cheap things that you can start off with to see if this works for your family and what you actually need to purchase, what your child actually needs for their curriculum, for them to learn, or whatever it is. So these have been wonderful. Next are some clothespins. So I did talk about this in my How to Homeschool for Free or Cheap, and I will link that if you want to check it out. But clothespins are super handy to homeschool. I used these to write some letters on the clothespins, and so you can build words out of these. You can one's broke. You can use them to match uppercase and lowercase. You can take a flashcard and you can flip them on the flashcard to match the word, whatever sound maybe you're working on, or if you do sight words, you can match up these letters. Now, I wrote letters on these. You could write shapes on them, you could write numbers on them, and you could do math with them. You could use them as counters. You could use them to hold a bunch of papers together. These are very handy. These would also be great for sensory play, for fine motor, and you can buy these at the dollar store. I want to say they're like 100 of them for $1. They're very cheap, and these have been amazing because before I bought any letter magnets or, you know, phonics type manipulatives, this is what I used, and they really worked. They were really helpful. I actually took a bunch of these and threw them in a sensory bin, and we would go on like a letter scavenger hunt. I'd ask them to find certain letters, see if they could make words with them, and these were really fun. So I'm sure you could come up with even more ways to use these than I did, and they were only $1. So again, before I would have gone out and purchased anything else, I wish I would have just known, just use these. This is all your kids want, and they work amazing. Okay, the next thing that I would recommend you have in your homeschool are dry erase boards and some dry erase markers. Again, these are amazing. Sometimes when your children are little, they do not want to write on just paper with a pencil or a crayon or whatever it is. So letting them mix it up and write on a dry erase board is really helpful. It's also really helpful when they make a mistake. It's very easy to just wipe it off and they can start fresh without getting super frustrated. This just can mix it up. It can help prevent frustration, and it can even save you paper. You can find these at the dollar store. This I got at a flea market in a whole big box of manipulatives that I got rid of. But I kept a few of these, and we can use these when we start working on graphs and whatever in the years to come. And it's blank on this side. I did have some from Dollar Tree that had lines that were more like this, but they have gotten very worn out in the last few years with all of my kids using them. And I went to Dollar Tree to find another one, and I could not find one. So instead of going online or whatever trying to find one of these, I went and found a free sheet of these primary writing lines, and I laminated it, and now it's a dry erase board, and it has the lines that I wanted. And I didn't pay anything extra. I already had the laminator and the sheets and the paper. I just printed this off for free. So dry erase boards are amazing. If you don't want to go out and buy one, but you have a printer and a laminator, you can make your own. Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is a little more pricey, but I wish I would have invested in this the first year, and that is a Pro Click binder. If you've watched lots of homeschool videos or been in any groups, I'm sure you have seen this mentioned. I looked at all sorts of different binding machines, and this is the one that I decided to pick. It's simple. This is it. That's all there is to it. It is simply a really big hole punch. So you just slide this, and it punches holes throughout your paper, and then you have these spines, and you just put them in and click them closed. And these are wonderful. Like I said, I love to use free resources. I love to use a lot of vintage resources and print off my own books from Google Books or Internet Archive, and to bind them, I like to use these. And it's so simple, so easy, and this would have really helped me in the first couple of years. I bought this year, and it has been amazing. We use Under the Home, and I like to print out all of their lesson guides and print out all of their notebooks, and I was able to print them all off and bind them. So my free curriculum, I was able to bind myself instead of taking it somewhere that costs you about $6 per book to bind, and that's if you can find a good deal. So this is definitely worth the money in my book, and I would have started off with this so I could have bought the free curriculum and bound it myself. So with my Pro Click binder and my laminator, I was able to put together books like this one. This is Number Stories. I love this book. It is free on Internet Archive, and it is a math book. But I was able to print this off at home. I was able to laminate a cover that was durable and bind it all together. I was able to do it all at home. I didn't have to spend hundreds of dollars on a new math curriculum. I could do this for free with my Pro Click binder and my laminator. Again, we use Under the Home for science and several other subjects. I do have a video on all of these free curriculums. I'll link them down below if you're curious what we use. but I was able to bind my science teacher's guide here, or my lesson guide, and I laminated the cover and I bound it together, and I have this handy little science book here. Now this one I did print the wrong way. I didn't mean to print it this way, but I wasn't paying attention, so it does flip this way, and it was a pretty easy fix. Instead of reprinting it, I simply just cut off the excess with a wire cutter, and so even when you mess up, it's still very handy and it works just fine. So it's very, very handy. All right, my next recommendation is not a must, but it's a fun one, and it definitely encourages my children to write, and that is these friction erasable pens. They are awesome. They are a pen, but the top of it is an eraser, and it erases with friction. I use these in my own planners and journals and notebooks, and my kids always want to steal my pens. They want nothing to do with crayons. They want to write in color like I do, which I can't blame them because I love to write in color. But if you let them write in pen, or if you let them write in marker, crayon, colored pencils, those things aren't erasable, and for my kids that leads to lots of tears and frustration. They feel like they messed up their whole paper and there's no going back. Even if you cross it out and tell them it's okay, you can just keep going, they don't believe you. It needs to be erased, it needs to be fixed. So my kids really love these. I have bought my two older boys that are 8 and 6. We just had a birthday. Oh, that's weird to say. They each have their own pencil pouch and their own set of erasable pens, and they love them. They will use them for math, for handwriting, whatever it is, and they can erase it when they make a mistake. So are these necessary? No. Are they great? Yes. So if you're looking for maybe something to encourage your children to write, or a treat that is homeschool related, I would suggest these. Suggestion would be to use a library card. That's definitely a homeschool resource, a homeschool supply that you need. I have bought several books. I love books. I also like to thrift books. So I did not want to use my library card, probably like I should have. But this year I have been using different resources, and I find that you just can't buy all the books that are suggested in every curriculum or about every subject. So I would suggest using your library card to figure out the resources that you are okay with just checking out from the library and giving them back, and which resources you want to have on hand all the time. Which resources are the most important? Are the picture books and the stories the most important to you, or are things like nonfiction resources, encyclopedias, and visual aids, are those things more important to you? I did not know what was most important, other than I really liked having a physical book, and going to the library seemed like a pain to me. But I have come to learn that the things that we are going to come back to over and over again, that I love and that my children love, are things that I want to invest my money in, whether that's new or used, thrifted, at yard sales, whatever it is. I want to purchase those things. But there are some things, like a lot of the seasonal books that I can get at the library, or picture books about the many different countries that we might not come back to every single year. I can find those at the library. So I would suggest using your library card to figure out what you want to purchase and what you don't. And it's free. What's the harm? Okay, the last thing I want to suggest is a book stand. I got this one from IKEA, and it's pretty great. We like to use this to prop up our books. This morning, we were looking at this painting in our Under the Home music study, and so we were looking at this painting and this map, and I could prop it up so all of my kids could see. They weren't all crowded around me or hovering over each other, and we could all see it, and they could also draw their own picture like this. And we also like to use it for just phonics lessons. I can prop up the book and they can see it without leaning over the table. We can both see it. I've used it for math lessons. I've used it for copy work. We have used it for our artist studies, where we can put our painting up here to study. And it is just really wonderful. So my kids could all see it and then try to copy our painting this morning from Under the Home. It's also nice sometimes just to use when you're cooking in the kitchen. You can prop up your recipe book, or you could put your phone or your tablet on this so that it's propped up and you can see it. It has many different uses. This is not something that was on my radar my first few years, but I have found that as I do copy work more, or as we do these different things like artist study, composer study, that this is very, very helpful. Not a necessity, but I love it, and if I could go back, I would have purchased this from the beginning. So these are my favorite things for our homeschool, for homeschool supplies and resources, and I hope this was helpful to you. I just hope that you can see that you don't have to go out and spend a whole lot of money on brand new things to be able to have useful things in your homeschool. The little counters like this are so cheap and multi-purpose, and we love them. You might love the box store or box curriculum. You might love the different math manipulatives. You may love things that are different than me, and that's perfectly okay. Every homeschool gets to be different, and you have the freedom to choose, which is the beauty of homeschool. But I hope that this was just an encouragement to you, that you get to see my favorite things and how we use them, and how it could have saved me a lot of money if I would have chose these specific things in the beginning. So if you like this, give it a thumbs up, and go ahead and subscribe if you'd like to see more content about homeschool, family life, and motherhood. Bye guys!